Tears streamed down everyone's faces as Marcus knelt beside Ellie's wheelchair, holding out a small velvet box. "This wasn't just a blind date," he said, his voice breaking. "This was the day I found my soulmate." No one could believe how a cruel prank had transformed into something so beautiful, least of all the pranksters themselves. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more incredible journeys of love and transformation. Your support helps us share these powerful stories that remind us all of our shared humanity. Ellie Winters adjusted her glasses and smoothed down her dress for the 5th time in as many minutes. The restaurant's ambient lighting cast a warm glow across the white tablecloth, but did little to calm her nerves. She maneuvered her wheelchair slightly, trying to find the perfect position at the table. "He's late," she muttered, checking her phone again. 20 minutes past their scheduled meeting time, and still no sign of her blind date. No messages either. This whole thing had been Tara's idea. "You need to get out more," her roommate had insisted. "My coworker knows this amazing guy who's perfect for you." Ellie had reluctantly agreed, though dating had never been easy for her. Not since the accident 3 years ago that had left her paralyzed from the waist down. As the 30-minute mark approached, Ellie's heart sank. She'd been stood up. Again. She reached for her purse, ready to call for the rideshare app that had dropped her off. "Excuse me, are you Ellie?" She looked up to see a tall man with kind eyes and a hesitant smile. He wore a well-tailored suit that suggested money, but his expression held genuine warmth. "Yes," she replied, surprised. "Are you Jason?" He shook his head. "No, I'm Marcus. Marcus Chen." He gestured to the chair across from her. "May I sit for a moment?" Confused but intrigued, Ellie nodded. "I believe we've both been set up tonight," Marcus said, his voice gentle. "But not in the way you might think." Across town, in a small apartment cluttered with camera equipment, Tara Reynolds high-fived her collaborator, Zach. "She totally bought it." Tara exclaimed, staring at the laptop screen showing a live feed from the hidden camera they'd planted at the restaurant. "This is going to get so many views." Zach nodded, adjusting the audio. "The CEO angle was genius. People eat that stuff up." Their YouTube channel, Social Experiments Uncensored, had been struggling lately. Their last few pranks hadn't broken 10,000 views. They needed something bigger, more emotional, more controversial. "Wheelchair girl meets fake CEO on blind date," Tara mused. "We'll title it something clickbaity like, they set up the wheelchair girl on a fake blind date with the CEO, his actions left them in tears." "Perfect," Zach agreed. "The plan is simple. Marcus pretends to be interested, then gradually gets uncomfortable with her disability, and finally makes an excuse to leave. We capture her reaction, then reveal it was all a social experiment about prejudice." Tara frowned slightly. "You don't think it's too mean?" Zach shrugged. "We'll reveal everything at the end. Besides, we're making an important point about how people with disabilities are treated. It's for a good cause." Neither of them noticed that the audio feed had cut out several minutes ago. Back at the restaurant, Marcus had moved to sit beside Ellie rather than across from her. His face was serious as he explained. "I'm the CEO of Chen Innovations. We develop adaptive technology, primarily for people with mobility challenges." He paused, looking uncomfortable. "About an hour ago, I received an anonymous email with a link to a live stream. It showed you, waiting here, along with details about a social experiment being conducted." Ellie's face drained of color. "What kind of experiment?" Marcus hesitated. "They hired me through what I thought was a legitimate PR firm to participate in a charity date auction. But it was all fake. The real plan was..." He couldn't finish the sentence. "To humiliate me," Ellie completed flatly. "To see how the poor wheelchair girl would react when her date rejected her because of her disability." Marcus nodded grimly. I'm so sorry. I came here to warn you and to apologize for almost being part of this, even unknowingly. Ellie's hands trembled in her lap. So there's someone filming this right now? Yes. But I've already had my security team locate and disable the equipment. They won't get their footage. Tears welled in Ellie's eyes. And Tara? My roommate? Marcus's expression softened with sympathy. She appears to be one of the organizers. The betrayal hit Ellie like a physical blow. Tara, who had helped her through physical therapy. Tara, who had celebrated with her when she'd finally mastered the wheelchair ramp at their apartment building. Tara, who had become family when Ellie's own parents had moved across the country, unable to deal with the aftermath of her accident. I should go, she whispered, reaching for her wheels. Wait, Marcus said, placing a gentle hand on her arm. What if we turned this around on them? Ellie looked up, confusion mixing with the hurt in her eyes. What do you mean? A slow smile spread across Marcus's face. What if we gave them a show they never expected? Tara slammed her hand against the laptop. What's happening? Why can't we hear anything? Zach frantically adjusted settings. I don't know. The video's still working, but the audio cut out. They watched in confusion as Marcus leaned close to Ellie, speaking intently. Instead of looking upset, Ellie was nodding, a determined expression replacing her earlier sadness. This isn't following the script, Tara muttered. He was supposed to make an excuse and leave by now. On screen, Marcus stood and offered his hand to Ellie. She took it, smiling up at him. Then, to Tara and Zach's astonishment, Marcus signaled a waiter, who brought over a bottle of champagne. What the hell? Zach exclaimed. Is he actually into her? Tara stared at the screen, a strange feeling growing in her chest. This wasn't how the prank was supposed to go at all. The evening that followed was unlike any date Ellie had ever experienced. Once they'd agreed to turn the tables on the pranksters, Marcus had thrown himself into the role with surprising enthusiasm. Tell me about yourself, he said, pouring her a glass of champagne. The real you, not whatever profile they created for this setup. Ellie hesitated, then decided she had nothing to lose. I was a physical therapist before my accident. Ironic, right? Now I work as a consultant for rehabilitation centers, helping them improve their programs for spinal cord injury patients. Marcus's eyes lit up. That's incredible. Using your experience to help others in similar situations. It gives purpose to what happened, Ellie said simply. What about you? Is it true you run a company that makes adaptive technology? Marcus nodded. Chen Innovations. We started with simple mobility aids, but we're moving into neural interface systems now. Technology that could potentially help people with spinal cord injuries regain some function. That's, wow. Ellie was genuinely impressed. So you weren't completely misrepresented in this setup. Just the part where I was supposed to be a jerk, Marcus said with a wry smile. Though I admit, I can be pretty focused on work. My sister says I need to get a life outside the office. As they talked, Ellie found herself forgetting about the cameras, about Tara's betrayal, about the cruel prank. Marcus was intelligent, passionate about his work, and, most surprisingly, he looked at her as a person, not a disability. When their entrees arrived, he didn't assume she needed help cutting her food or ask awkward questions about her condition. Instead, they discussed books they'd both read, argued good-naturedly about whether AI would save humanity or doom it, and discovered a shared love of obscure indie films. You know, Marcus said as they finished dessert, this might be the best blind date I've ever been on, despite the circumstances. Ellie laughed. Me too, actually. Though the bar was pretty low. Marcus's expression turned serious. What do you want to do about your roommate and her friend? They're probably watching us right now, completely confused. Ellie considered this. The hurt of Tara's betrayal was still raw, but something else had begun to take its place, a determination to reclaim this narrative. "I think," she said slowly, "we should give them an ending they never saw coming." 3 hours into their surveillance, Tara and Zach were utterly baffled. The date wasn't just going well, it was going amazingly. Marcus and Ellie were laughing, talking animatedly, and showing every sign of genuine connection. "This is useless footage," Zach complained. "No drama, no tears, no social commentary. Just two people having a nice dinner." But Tara wasn't listening. She was watching Ellie's face, seeing a happiness there she hadn't witnessed since before the accident. A knot of shame tightened in her stomach. "Maybe we should just shut it down," she suggested. "Delete the footage and forget this ever happened." "Are you kidding? We've invested too much in this setup. We need something dramatic for the ending, or this whole thing was a waste." On screen, Marcus was signaling for the check. The date appeared to be winding down. "See?" Zach said. "It's almost over anyway. Let's just see how it ends." Outside the restaurant, the night air was cool against Ellie's skin. Marcus had insisted on paying for dinner, despite her protests. "Consider it an apology for almost participating in their scheme," he'd said. Now they stood, well, she sat, on the sidewalk, an awkward moment of transition hanging between them. "So," Marcus began, "about that ending we discussed." Ellie looked up at him, suddenly nervous. "Are you sure about this? You don't have to." "I want to," he interrupted. "Not just for the cameras. I meant what I said in there, Ellie. I'd like to see you again. Properly, without any pranks or setups." Her heart fluttered. "I'd like that too." Marcus smiled, then glanced around subtly. "Do you think they're still watching?" Knowing Tara, definitely. "Good." And with that, Marcus Chin, CEO of Chin Innovations, knelt down beside Ellie's wheelchair, took her hand in his, and kissed it gently. The gesture was so unexpected, so genuinely romantic, that Ellie felt tears spring to her eyes. Not tears of humiliation as the pranksters had intended, but tears of joy at finding connection in the most unlikely circumstances. "May I call you tomorrow?" Marcus asked, still holding her hand. "You'd better," Ellie replied with a watery smile. As her rideshare pulled up to the curb, Marcus helped her inside, then closed the door with a final wave. Ellie leaned back against the seat, her mind whirling with the events of the evening. She'd gone from anticipation to betrayal to unexpected joy in the span of a few hours. And now she had to go home and face Tara. The apartment was dark when Ellie arrived. She maneuvered her wheelchair through the doorway, half expecting to find Tara waiting to explain, to apologize, to justify her actions somehow. Instead, she found a note on the kitchen counter. "Ellie, I'm staying at Zach's tonight. We need to talk tomorrow. I'm so sorry. T." Ellie crumpled the note and threw it across the room. Sorry didn't begin to cover what Tara had done. Using her disability as fodder for internet views, setting her up for public humiliation, it was beyond betrayal. She was still seething when her phone buzzed with a text. "Made it home safely? Marcus." Despite everything, Ellie smiled. She typed back, "Safe but angry. Roommate left a note saying she's sorry." His response came quickly, "You have every right to be angry. But remember, her cruel plan led to us meeting. Silver linings?" Ellie stared at the message, feeling some of her anger dissipate. He was right. If not for Tara's horrible prank, she never would have met Marcus. "Silver linings," she texted back. "Good night, Marcus." "Good night, Ellie. Tomorrow is a new day." As she prepared for bed, Ellie realized that tomorrow would indeed be different. She had decisions to make about Tara, about her living situation, about whether to pursue whatever was beginning with Marcus. But for tonight, she would hold on to the unexpected joy of connection that had emerged from betrayal. Tara couldn't sleep. Beside her, Zach snored peacefully, apparently unbothered by what they'd attempted to do. But every time Tara closed her eyes, she saw Ellie's face, not hurt or humiliated as they'd planned, but radiant with happiness as she connected with Marcus. What kind of person had she become? When had views and likes become more important than her friendship with Ellie? They'd been through so much together. After Ellie's accident, Tara had promised to always be there for her. Instead, she'd exploited her friend's vulnerability for content. By morning, Tara had made her decision. She shook Zach awake. "We're deleting all the footage," she announced. "And we're shutting down the channel." Zach sat up, blinking in confusion. "What? Why?" "Because what we did was wrong. Not just to Ellie, but to all the people we've pranked for views. It has to stop." "You're overreacting," Zach argued. "It was just a social experiment. We were making a point about." "No," Tara cut him off. "We were exploiting people's pain for entertainment. I'm done with it." She grabbed her laptop, opened their YouTube channel, and began the process of removing their content. "You can't do this," Zach protested. "We've worked for years building this channel." Tara looked at him, really looked at him, and wondered how she'd never noticed the coldness behind his eyes before. "It's already done," she said quietly. "And now I need to go home and face my friend." When Tara returned to the apartment, she found Ellie in the kitchen, making coffee. The silence between them was heavy with unspoken words. "I deleted all the footage," Tara finally said. "And I shut down the channel." Ellie didn't respond immediately. She finished preparing her coffee, then turned her wheelchair to face Tara. "Why?" she asked simply. It was a loaded question. Why had Tara betrayed her? Why had she thought it was acceptable to use Ellie's disability as content? Why had their friendship meant so little? Tara sank into a chair, tears filling her eyes. "I don't have a good answer. The channel was failing. Zach said we needed something bigger, more emotional. I got caught up in it, in the numbers and the views. I forgot what really matters." "Me," Ellie said flatly. "Your friend. The person who trusted you." "Yes." Tara couldn't meet her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Ellie. I know that's not enough, but I am truly, deeply sorry." Ellie was quiet for a long moment. "You're right. It's not enough. I need time, Tara. I don't know if I can forgive this." "I understand," Tara whispered. "I'll start looking for a new place today." Ellie nodded, then hesitated. "For what it's worth, your horrible plan did have one positive outcome. Marcus he's pretty amazing." Despite everything, Tara smiled slightly. "Yeah, I could see that. He looked at you the way people should look at each other." "He's taking me to the Adaptive Technology Expo next weekend," Ellie admitted. "As a real date." "That's great, Ellie. You deserve someone who sees you for who you are." The conversation lapsed into silence again, but it felt different now, less hostile, more melancholic. The friendship they'd built over years had been damaged, perhaps irreparably, but in its place was a painful honesty that hadn't existed before. Over the next few weeks, Ellie's life transformed in ways she couldn't have anticipated. Tara moved out, finding a small studio apartment across town. They still spoke occasionally, awkward conversations filled with careful politeness, but the easy friendship they'd once shared was gone. In contrast, her relationship with Marcus blossomed. Their first official